AITA for moving on after my girlfriend cheated and said I'd never find anyone like her. I was 33, she was 30. We matched, started chatting, and honestly, the spark was instant. It's hard to explain, but we understood each other. Same sense of humor, same interests. We could talk for hours without getting bored. After a few weeks of messages and calls, I finally asked her out on a real date. I was a bit nervous, not because I'm unattractive or anything. I think I'm decent, but she was on another level. Stunning, the kind of person who makes heads turn on the street. She arrived at this little taco place downtown, and wow, her photos didn't do her justice. Long brown hair, perfect skin, she was wearing a simple black dress that seemed made for her. I thought I was going to embarrass myself, but I managed to act normal. The date was great. It just confirmed everything I felt during our online exchanges. We started seeing each other more and more often, and it quickly became official. In less than a month, we were exclusive. I was waiting for something to go wrong, but she seemed really invested. What always bothered me a bit was all the attention she received from other guys. She told me about it sometimes, even when we were together. Guys hitting on her in front of me or sending her messages on social media. At first, it didn't worry me. I trusted her. I thought she cared about me. In hindsight, I was a bit naive, but that's how I saw things. I was just enjoying the moment and didn't want to be the jealous and insecure guy. I work as a mechanical engineer at a company that manufactures industrial equipment. It's not the most exciting job, but it pays well, and I'm good at it. My boss, Derek, is a real jerk. He's the type to take credit for others' work and throw people under the bus when something goes wrong. He's about 45, divorced twice, drives an Audi he probably can't afford, and thinks he's God's gift to women and the world of engineering. The typical corporate climber, ready to step on anyone to get ahead. Anyway, with Chloe, we had found a good routine. We spent weekends together, alternating between her apartment and mine. She worked part-time as a model and influencer, so her schedule was a bit chaotic. Sometimes she had shoots or events for several days, then she would have a quiet week. I didn't question it. That's the industry, right? The first 3 months were almost perfect. We had dinner dates, went to movies, and went hiking. She even came to one of my softball games with my work team, which surprised me. I didn't imagine her as the type to come to the sidelines and cheer. That day, she met a few of my colleagues, but fortunately, Derek wasn't there. I was dreading their meeting a bit, given how he behaves with attractive women. Our relationship was moving fast. It's strange to think back on it now, but at the time, everything seemed fine. After 8 months, I started telling myself this could be serious. One night, we were lying in bed after watching some dumb show on Netflix, talking about everything and nothing. I don't remember how it came up, but I floated the idea of marriage. Not a real proposal, just a thought like, I could really see myself marrying you one day. And just like that, she became super excited, sat up suddenly, and started talking at full speed about ring styles, the wedding she wanted, colors, all of it. I was a bit stunned. Yeah, I had brought up the subject, but I didn't expect her to jump on it with such enthusiasm. I told myself it was really happening. This gorgeous woman really wanted to marry me. Me, an average guy. It was crazy. The following weeks were incredible. We spent hours looking for apartments online. Her studio was tiny and mine was too far from her gigs. We talked about our future, even names for children, clearly getting ahead of ourselves. But I was happy, so I went with the flow. I started putting money aside from every paycheck for a ring. I even showed designs to my buddies at work. Most of them were happy for me, making guy jokes like, "Wow, you're locking her down." Everyone was cool except for Derek, obviously. He overheard us talking about rings during lunch and said something like, "Make sure she signs a prenup, Pete." Girls like that always have a plan B, with that disgusting smirk of his. I ignored it. Derek has just been bitter since his divorces, especially with women. But then, Chloe changed. It happened so slowly that I didn't notice anything at first. But looking back, it's glaring, like a switch had been flipped in her head. First, it was small things. She took forever to reply to my messages, but when we were together, she was glued to her phone. She canceled plans at the last minute with vague excuses. She would show up late to events that were important to me. Then it became more obvious. She made remarks like I should treat her better, expecting me to buy her expensive gifts and wanting to go to luxury restaurants every weekend instead of our usual habit of alternating between nights out and dinners at home. She sent me links to luxury clothes or bags with messages like, "This would look so good on me." When I told her I was saving for our future, for the ring she wanted, she said, "You have to understand that being with me is an investment. Do you know how many guys would dream of being in your place?" Who says that to someone they're supposed to love? It was weird. She had started believing she was a queen and that I should kneel before her. Yeah, she's beautiful. I always knew that. But this was no longer confidence. It was toxic arrogance. She believed she was totally above me. That stuck in my head, and even if it faded, it got filed away in the mental drawer of sketchy things not to ignore. The worst part is she made no effort anymore. She didn't cook at all, even though she used to make incredible pasta. She never suggested outings. She just stayed on her phone during our time together. It was as if I was just there to serve her, and she didn't have to give anything in return. I tried to talk to her about it. I asked her if something was wrong or if I had done something that hurt her. She got defensive immediately, accused me of being too needy, and told me her exes never needed so much validation. That hurt. I'm not a teenager in crisis, but it's normal to want your partner to show they care about you. After that discussion, I started doubting myself. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe this is just what happens after the honeymoon phase. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The woman I fell in love with, the one who dreamed of our shared future, was disappearing, and I didn't understand why. A month after this strange turn in our relationship, I got a promotion at work. It wasn't huge, but it came with more responsibility and a better salary. I was super happy because it meant I could save faster for that ring and our future. My company was organizing a dinner to celebrate landing a big contract with a client from Japan. It was a formal evening, and guests were invited. I thought it would be a good opportunity for Chloe to meet my colleagues. Plus, the dinner was at a chic downtown restaurant she had been pestering me to try for weeks. When I told her about the evening, she became weirdly enthusiastic. Like, way too excited for a boring corporate dinner. She bombarded me with questions about the guests, especially if Derek would be there. I figured she was just nervous about meeting my boss. So, I reassured her, telling her that yeah, he was a real jerk, but she didn't need to try to impress him. The night of the dinner, I went to pick her up, and she was absolutely magnificent. She had clearly spent hours getting ready. She was wearing a tight red dress that must have cost more than my rent. Perfect makeup, flawless hair, everything was top-notch. She was always pretty, of course, but this was another level. I remember thinking I was the luckiest man in the world to arrive with her on my arm. The weird thing is that as soon as we arrived at the restaurant, she started ignoring me. When we were in a group conversation, she didn't even look at me when I spoke. She was super nice to everyone else, laughing at all the jokes, even the lame ones, touching people's arms while talking to them, all the little flirting gestures. But with me, nothing. She was cold. And she always found an excuse to talk to Derek. At first, I told myself she was just being polite, but it quickly became obvious that she was flirting with him right in front of me. And Derek, that smug guy, he loved it. He was giving her looks, standing way too close, and at one point, he even put his hand on her lower back while he was getting a drink at the bar. I was getting more and more furious, but what was I going to do? Make a scene at a professional event? I tried to ignore it, telling myself that maybe I was exaggerating. Maybe she was just trying to do me a favor by charming my boss. That is what I kept repeating to myself. The ride back was tense. She spent the whole trip talking about Derek, about how impressive he was, his success, his presence. I felt nauseous. She was recounting what he had told her about his vacation home in Florida and his investments. Apparently, they had a long conversation while I was stuck discussing tax deductions with Dave from accounting. Once we were back at my place, I finally asked her what that was all about. I said, "What was that tonight? You spent the evening glued to my boss." She just laughed and said, "Are you jealous? Seriously, grow up. I was just being nice. Don't you want your boss to like me?" When I pointed out that nice doesn't mean touching someone's arm while giggling at everything he says, she got defensive. She started saying I was controlling and insecure. She twisted the whole story to make me look like the bad guy just for daring to bring it up. We had a huge fight. She said, "This is why I can't take you anywhere." And she even threw out, "Maybe Derek is successful because he isn't as whiny and fragile as you." It was the first time we went to bed angry. Well, I was angry. She just spent hours on her phone with her back turned to me, as if she didn't care at all. After that night, things got even weirder. She was texting all the time, but in a super secretive way. She would turn her phone over when I walked by or go into the bathroom to take calls. It was like all the cliches from movies when someone is having an affair, except you never think someone could be so blatant in real life. The following weekend, she canceled our plans at the last minute, saying she had a golden opportunity for a shoot that was going to boost her portfolio. I was disappointed, but I said I understood. I spent my Saturday doing chores and playing video games, trying to ignore the bad feeling in my gut. So, I sent a message to one of her model friends to ask how the shoot went, trying to be an attentive boyfriend. Her friend didn't even know what I was talking about. She told me she was not aware of any shoot. My stomach knotted. I didn't reply. I just sat there, phone in hand, staring at the screen as if the answer was going to change. But I already had the answer. She was not at a shoot. She was somewhere else. When she came home, I acted like nothing was wrong, like I didn't know she had lied straight to my face. She didn't seem guilty or nervous, but there was a subtle shift, like she was hiding something and was just very skilled at concealing it. A week later, she was supposed to meet me for lunch near my office. We had planned it for days because our schedules were busy, well, mostly hers. And without surprise, she sent me a text at the last minute to say she couldn't make it. Once again, it was supposedly a shoot opportunity with a big client that was going to boost her career. But at this point, I had serious doubts about these sudden opportunities. I decided to find out what she was really doing. I told my team leader I was taking a long lunch break and left. I had no specific plan. I just thought I would drive by her place to see if her car was there. It was not. But as I was getting ready to leave, I saw her pull into her building's parking lot. She was dressed up, way too much for a photo shoot where they normally do your hair and makeup on site. She looked at her phone, then got back in her car and drove off. I followed her. I know, it sounds like something out of a spy movie, but honestly, what would you have done in my place? I stayed a few cars behind, feeling like an amateur detective. She went to a chic hotel downtown, a block from my office. She parked in the visitor lot and went inside. I parked across the street and just sat there for a moment, not really knowing what to do. Part of me wanted to go in and confront her. But if it was really for work, maybe she was meeting a client. After about 20 minutes of waiting like an idiot, I saw Derek's Audi pull into the hotel parking lot. I recognized it immediately because of his stupid personalized license plate, Boss Man. Seriously, guys like him are so predictable. My stomach turned. There was no way this was a coincidence. I got out of my car and crossed the street, not even knowing what I was going to do. I was walking towards the hotel entrance when I froze. They were there, Derek and Chloe, coming out of the hotel, right next to each other. He had his arm around her waist. She was laughing at something he said. Then they kissed, right there on the street. Not just a little peck, but a full-on makeout session, like teenagers. I hid behind a parked van so they wouldn't see me. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I was going to be sick. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but it was right there in front of my eyes. The woman I wanted to marry was having an affair with my jerk of a boss. I watched them say goodbye. He handed her something that looked like cash, which she slipped into her bag before getting into a rideshare. Derek fixed his tie, put on his sunglasses, and strutted back towards the office. I remained frozen for a good 5 minutes. My legs felt like concrete. When I finally came to my senses, I sent a text to my team leader saying I was sick and going home. There was no way I could see Derek that afternoon. No way I could concentrate on anything. I went back to my empty apartment and just sat there, trying to figure out what to do. I went through all the possible emotions: shock, denial, sadness, anger. I couldn't believe she had done this to me, and with my boss of all people. It was like they had teamed up to humiliate me in the worst way possible. I reread her texts from the last few weeks and started noticing patterns. All those sudden cancellations and professional emergencies coincided with the days Derek left the office early. All the evenings she was supposedly too tired to see me corresponded to days Derek had off-site meetings. And then, I remembered something from the corporate dinner. I had heard Derek tell someone he was going to Japan the following month to finalize the contract with our client. And just the day before, Chloe had mentioned a potential shoot in Tokyo around that same time. It was so obvious now. The worst part was realizing she was probably just with me for stability while she looked for richer guys. Everything she had said about marriage and our future, was it sincere, or was I just a plan B, a safety net? I returned to work the next day and tried to act like nothing had happened, but it was torture. Every time Derek walked past my office, I had to fight the urge to say something. He, on the other hand, acted like nothing was wrong. In fact, he seemed even happier than usual, whistling all the time. He must have thought he had gotten away with it. During my lunch break, I heard him on the phone in the break room. He clearly didn't know I was there getting something from the fridge. I heard him say, "Yeah, baby, I'll give you the cash tomorrow. Just make sure to wear that black thing I like." Then he laughed and added, "No, that poor guy thinks you're really interested in him." I almost exploded on the spot, but I managed to get out without him seeing me. There it was, clear proof from his own mouth. He wasn't only involved with my girlfriend, but he was also making fun of me behind my back, and he was paying her. I spent the whole day at work imagining what I was going to say to Chloe. Should I scream, cry, stay calm? I must have replayed the scene at least 50 times in my head. All I knew is that I needed answers, and I had to look her in the eyes when she gave them to me. When I got home, I sent her a message asking her to come over for dinner. I tried to sound normal, like nothing was up. She replied that she was super busy but could dedicate a few hours to me later in the evening. The way she said it made my blood boil, as if seeing her boyfriend was a chore to check off her list. She arrived around 8:30 p.m., looking distracted, her eyes glued to her phone while I made pasta. I tried to act normal, asking her how her day went. But inside, I was a pressure cooker about to explode. We ate. She half listened to what I was saying, still talking about this incredible opportunity she might have in Japan, not even bothering to pretend anymore. I just nodded, waiting for the right moment. After dinner, we sat on the couch to watch TV. She was scrolling through Instagram, not even pretending to watch the show. And that is when I couldn't hold it in anymore. I took the remote, turned off the TV, and turned to her. "How long have you been with Derek?" She looked up abruptly from her phone, and the look she gave me, I will never forget it. First shock, then a glimmer of anger, then this strange, calculating look as if she was trying to figure out the best way to handle this. "What are you talking about?" she tried, but her voice was trembling, and she wouldn't look me in the eye. "Don't lie to me," I said, surprised at how calm I sounded when I felt like I was collapsing. "I saw you leaving the Marquis Hotel together last week, and I heard you on the phone with him today. I know you're with him." She stared at me for a long moment. Then her attitude completely changed. "Fine," she said, flipping her hair back as if we were talking about the weather. "Yes, I am seeing Derek. And yes, he gives me money sometimes. So what? He can afford to treat me better than you can. So what?" I repeated, incredulous. "You're having an affair with my boss." She rolled her eyes as if I was being dramatic. "It's just business, baby. He pays. I make him feel good. It doesn't have to change anything between us." I felt like I was in a parallel reality. She was seriously suggesting we continue dating while she was involved with my boss. "Are you serious right now?" I almost shouted. "You're admitting you're a..." She cut me off. "I'm an entrepreneur. I take advantage of what I have. Most guys would understand that. Most guys would understand their girlfriend being with others for money." She shrugged as if we were debating which restaurant to order from. "Derek isn't the only one. There are other men who appreciate what I have to offer enough to pay for it." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I was truly nauseous. And what about everything we said? About getting engaged? Our future together? "Oh, please," she laughed. It was the most chilling laugh I have ever heard. "You're cute and stable. A good boyfriend, but let's be realistic. You should be grateful I gave you my time. You know how many men would dream of being in your place." "Get out," I said calmly. "Excuse me." "Get out," I shouted, standing up. "Take your stuff and get the hell out of my apartment." She looked shocked, as if she couldn't believe I was finally standing up for myself. "You're making a huge mistake," she said, picking up her bag. "You will never find a girl like me." "Thank God," I replied. "I would rather be alone than with someone who does what you do." She slammed the door. As soon as she left, I completely fell apart. I punched a cushion so hard I think I sprained my wrist. Then I collapsed on the floor and stayed there for hours, trying to process what had just happened. The worst part was not even the affair. It was realizing that the woman I thought I loved, the one I was ready to marry, had never existed. The real Chloe saw me as a backup plan, a source of security while she chased after richer guys. The next morning, she tried to call me as if nothing had happened. I sent the call directly to voicemail. Then she sent a text saying we needed to talk, that I was overreacting. Can you believe it? I catch her in an inappropriate relationship with my boss. I discover she is being paid for it, and I'm the one overreacting. I blocked her number. I couldn't deal with her manipulations anymore, but the worst was yet to come. I still had to go to work and face Derek. The thought of it made me sick, but I needed this job. I couldn't just quit without something else lined up. The following weeks were a living nightmare. Every time Derek passed my office, I had to fight the urge to say something. He acted like nothing had happened. Worse, he seemed even happier than usual, whistling all the time. He must have thought he had gotten away with it. During this time, Chloe kept trying to contact me. After I blocked her number, she started sending me emails, then she contacted my friends. When that didn't work, she showed up at my apartment one evening. I didn't let her in. I spoke through the closed door, feeling like a crazy person. She was crying, saying she had made a huge mistake, that she really loved me, that Derek didn't matter, that it was just for the money, as if that made it any more acceptable. I told her to leave before I called the police, and that is when she exploded. She screamed that I was pathetic, that she had only been with me out of pity, that Derek was twice the man I would ever be, and that I would never find a woman as beautiful as her willing to be with me. Charming. After that, I started looking for a new job. It was impossible to keep working for Derek. I sent out about 20 applications. Within a month, I had an offer from a competing company. Better salary, better benefits, and a boss who wasn't involved with my ex. I submitted my resignation the same day. Derek looked genuinely surprised. He even dared to ask why I was leaving, given my promising future in the company. I just told him I had found a better opportunity. No need to go into details. On my last week, while cleaning out my desk, I heard Derek talking in the conference room. The door was ajar. He was bragging to other managers about his model girlfriend and saying she was expensive but worth every cent. He added that she was accompanying him to Japan next month. I almost walked in and revealed everything, but I held back. I finished packing my things and left that toxic place for good. 3 months later, my new job was going great. The atmosphere was better, the projects were more interesting, and people were respectful. I was slowly regaining my confidence. Then came my 15-year high school reunion. I was not sure I wanted to go. I was never a fan of those events, even before the situation with Chloe. But my old buddies from the baseball team convinced me it would be fun. While I was there, chatting with everyone, I ran into Sophie's best friend. Sophie was in my class, tall, stunning, probably the prettiest girl in high school. We were friendly back then, but not close. She was the artistic type, always doodling in a notebook while I was focused on video games or baseball. After high school, Sophie became a professional model. A real one, not like Chloe and her lies. I had seen Sophie in actual magazines and in ads for major brands. Meanwhile, her best friend, Jane, had stayed in the area and become a kindergarten teacher. Jane and I started talking about the good old days, and she kept giving me this strange smile, as if she knew something I didn't. When I mentioned Sophie, wondering what she was up to, Jane's smile grew even bigger. "She's going to kill me for telling you this," she murmured, leaning in as if revealing a huge secret. "But Sophie had a massive crush on you in high school. Like, a really big one. She wrote your name in all her sketchbooks." I burst out laughing. "Seriously? Sophie, the girl who went on to pose for major fashion magazines, had a thing for me, the average guy?" It seemed completely ridiculous. Even in high school, when I was the substitute pitcher for a mediocre baseball team, Sophie was winning art contests and getting scouted by modeling agencies. I didn't even think she remembered me, and I told Jane that. But she insisted. "She literally asked me to check if you were coming to the reunion, since she couldn't make it," Jane said. "She's in Europe for work, shooting a campaign for a luxury brand in Brussels. She specifically asked if you'd be here. Wanted to know if you were still as cute as you were in math class." I spent the rest of the evening thinking about what Jane had just told me. It was so unexpected. I'm not going to lie, it felt good to know that someone like Sophie had been interested in me, especially after Chloe had made me feel like I was lucky she even looked at me. The next day, on a whim, I decided to try my luck. I found Sophie on Instagram and sent her a message. Something simple, like, "It's great to hear about your success. Jane told me we missed you at the reunion. It would be nice to catch up sometime." And then, I waited for 5 days without a response. I had almost forgotten about it, telling myself she was probably busy with her actual modeling career, when suddenly, she replied. Her message was super enthusiastic, full of exclamation points and emojis. She seemed genuinely happy to hear from me. We started messaging regularly, catching up on more than a decade of our lives. We talked about high school, our lives since then, our jobs, our families, everything. After a few days of nonstop messages, Sophie suggested we switch to video calls. She was tired of typing. That first video call was surreal. Here I was, talking face-to-face with a woman whose face had been on billboards, and she was laughing at my dumb jokes as if we were back in high school. She was so natural, so sincere. It was nothing like the cold manipulation of Chloe. The more we talked, the more I understood what a real connection felt like. She asked me questions about my engineering job and actually listened to the answers. She never made me feel inferior. She also opened up about her own insecurities and the difficulties of the modeling world. After a few weeks of talking almost every day, it started to feel like a relationship, even from a distance. So, I decided to clarify things. What are we doing exactly? She smiled that incredible smile and told me, I like to believe we are building something special. I always regretted not telling you how I felt in high school. That was all I needed to hear. I asked her if she wanted to make things official, and she said yes without hesitation. I was in a relationship with a real model who liked me for who I am, not for what I could offer her or as a backup plan. When she suggested I come see her in Brussels while she finished her campaign, I didn't hesitate. I used a part of my signing bonus from my new job to buy a ticket. It was the best decision of my life. The trip was incredible. Sophie introduced me to her entire team, proudly presenting me as her boyfriend. She was super professional on set, but would give me a wink between takes. Her success was not superficial at all. She worked hard, and everyone respected her for it. I took plenty of photos during the shoots and posted a few to my close friend's story on Instagram, completely forgetting that Chloe was still on that list. I barely used Instagram, so I hadn't thought to remove her. A few hours later, I received a message from her. Who is that? Why are you being a groupie? With a laughing emoji. I replied calmly. It's my girlfriend. Nothing else. She didn't reply right away. I saw the typing indicator appear and disappear for a good 10 minutes, as if she was writing and erasing her reply over and over. Finally, she just sent, sure. That is when I decided to add one final comment. If you thought you were out of my league, then Sophie is in another galaxy entirely. And how's Derek? Does he still make you earn your luxury bags the hard way? I knew that would get to her. She read the message but didn't reply. So, I blocked her on Instagram too. It felt good, but she literally came back for more. One evening, several months after blocking her everywhere, I heard a knock at my door. I opened it, and she was there, standing in my hallway like an extra in a failed romantic comedy. Hi, she said in a soft, pathetic voice. I just stared at her. Can I come in? She tried, shifting her weight as if just standing there was exhausting her. No. She swallowed, visibly not prepared for that. Pete, I made a mistake. Okay, I see it now. I was stupid. I crossed my arms. Oh, really? Which part exactly? The lying, the affair, or treating me like an ATM? Her eyes filled with tears, but I was not fooled. You were the only guy who wanted something real with me. You know what it's like out there, all the guys I'm with. She hesitated, trying to play the victim card. They take me for granted. No one sees me the way you saw me. I sneered. Exactly. And that is why I left. She sniffled. Please, Pete, give me a second chance. I've changed, I swear. I miss you. You miss me, or you miss someone treating you like a human being instead of a transaction? I corrected. But that's not my problem anymore. She took a big, trembling breath, surely hoping I would give in. But when I didn't budge, she tried to regain the upper hand. So what? You really think you're better off with her? You think she's better than me? I let out a laugh. You already know the answer, don't you? That is why you are here. Her eyes wavered. Jealousy, regret, maybe both. You had your chance, I said, stepping back inside. And you wasted it. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a FaceTime call with a real model who sees my value without a price tag attached. Chloe opened her mouth to say something, a last desperate attempt. Maybe, but I did not stay to hear it. I closed the door, locked it, and did not look back. About a week later, a former colleague told me that Derek had been fired for inappropriate conduct. Apparently, he had a serious incident involving someone at another company, and it led to a formal complaint. I can't say he didn't deserve it. As for Sophie and me, we are still together, ever since that trip to Brussels. And I'm not going to lie, I am thinking about putting a ring on her finger before the end of the year. And this time, it will be with a woman who truly deserves it. A woman who sees my value and doesn't make me feel lucky just because she is in the room. Sometimes, the people who think they are above everyone else end up with nothing. And sometimes the guy who got treated like dirt finally gets his happy ending. Comment: I hope this story reminds you that your value is never defined by how someone else treats you. Real love doesn't make you feel like you have to earn a place in someone's life or compete for basic respect. Walking away from a situation that drains you is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful act of self-love. It might feel incredibly painful in the moment, but closing the wrong door is the only way to open the right one. True confidence is quiet and kind, while arrogance is often just a mask for insecurity. Trust that there are people out there who will see your worth without you having to explain it constantly. The way we treat others eventually comes back to us, so always choose integrity even when no one is watching. Don't let a bad experience harden your heart or stop you from believing in genuine connection. You deserve a relationship where you are celebrated, not just tolerated. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.